1. I'm a 23-year-old woman, and my housemate is 22 and non-binary, Max. We've been living together for about a year. I've had other friends live in the house before, and there has never been an issue with sharing or respecting the space, until Max moved in. We have known each other for roughly 3 years and are pretty good friends. I always knew they weren't the neatest person, but they seemed fairly clean, which is why I had no problem with them moving in with me. Before Max moved in, they would come over to hang out with our friends at the house a lot. They would always leave their dishes, sometimes with half-eaten food still in the bowls, on the kitchen counter when the sink and dishwasher were empty, and the trash can was only a few steps away. One time I was doing the dishes and a half-eaten soggy tortilla was still stuck to one of the plates. When I asked my friends whose plate it was, Max eventually confessed it was them. Those of us who lived in the house asked them to throw their leftover food away, or put it in the fridge, instead of the sink, and Max agreed. Now that Max has lived with me, the state of the house has declined and it's taking a mental toll on me. I'm always the one to clean the house when it gets too messy. I recently spent 6 hours while they were out of town deep cleaning the house because of the state it was in for months. They have left and will leave an army of dirty dishes out on the counter, with an empty sink and dishwasher right there, and several dishes still have old food on them. Max will leave out cooked food instead of storing it in the fridge or something. I will have to throw the food out or put it up, because I have a cat and she will eat something that is left out. Max will refuse to take out the trash, bathroom or kitchen, and only once I'm doing it will they swoop in and take the bags outside to the bin. I am the one to restock supplies like toilet paper or towels or dish soap. They once ran out of toilet paper in our shared bathroom, didn't throw out the cardboard roll, and put loose paper napkins on the holder. They also use my personal mugs and cups and then don't wash them. They'll leave their dirty clothes on our bathroom floor for days. All of their boxes for their work are out in the living area and on the front porch, and it's getting cluttered and cramped. Some boxes have been there since they moved in last summer, and they keep insisting they will move them to the room or their car, but never have. Their room is very messy. Not a problem at all, but the issue is that it extends from their room and into the entire kitchen and living room. Max will spend all their time in the common space, and it gets so dirty that I don't want to go out there at all. Half-eaten bowls of pasta and old drinks are everywhere, and we've gotten gnats from them refusing to take out the trash can that they filled up. I got so sick of taking out their bags of trash that I just got a trash can for my room so I could worry about my own stuff. Max won't take out the bathroom trash, which brings me to the catalyst of it all, the bloody pad that lived on the bathroom floor for a month. I know it wasn't mine because I don't use sanitary napkins, and that's all Max uses during their cycle. I also don't use the bathroom trash all that much because I don't use certain period products, so the spill was from Max ignoring the overflowing trash and stuffing more on top. One of the pads fell out at some point right next to the trash can and the bathtub. Every time you would step out of the bathroom, you could see the pad. I kept hoping that Max would notice and throw it away. They never did. Yet when our friend came over to use the bathroom one day, he texted me right after, asking why there was a bloody pad next to the tub. So I think Max had to have seen it. I wasn't going to clean it up, but after a month I had enough, and picked it up and took out the bathroom trash because of how bad the smell was. Afterwards, I told them that maybe we could be more mindful of the bathroom trash since there was a bloody pad on the floor for a while, and they claimed they hadn't seen it. My therapist suggested I deep clean the house while Max was gone for a few days, make a chore chart, and then have another conversation with them about the state of the house. I did all of that, and Max said they had just been going through a tough time mentally. I told them that I understand mental health can be tough, and that they can deal with it however they need to. The issue was that it has been impacting my space and my state of living. Max said they would try harder, which I appreciate. But they've said that before, and it always goes back to how it was after 2 weeks or so. Just now I walked in the bathroom and saw period blood smeared on the toilet seat and outer bowl. Genuinely, this is my last straw. I've talked to them several times about respecting shared spaces and cleaning up after ourselves. I've made a chore chart, I've gotten advice on confrontation from my therapist, and had the tough conversations with Max about the state of the house. I completely understand the toll mental health takes on a person. I know from experience. But Max's behavior has been impacting and currently impacts me. And it honestly feels more like inconsideration at this point. Even our other friends don't want to come over to our house anymore because of the state it's in. I'm really embarrassed for people to see how it is if I haven't cleaned, but also I shouldn't be the only one cleaning. I can't kick Max out, since they have a few more months on the lease, but I'm so tired of feeling confined to my room because they're not being considerate of shared spaces in the home. Does anyone have any advice? I can't really think of anything I haven't done, and I don't want to start any drama, but I cannot keep dealing with this after having so many conversations and going out of my way to try and fix the situation. I don't want to have a huge fight because that will just make things more miserable until their lease is up. Hellfreezer's note. Well, the bright side here is the lease will be up in a few months and you can be rid of them. As far as them making a mess in shared spaces, I suggest you take their mess and put it in their room when they do that. If it doesn't bother them that much, then it cannot bother them in their room. I don't think Max is going to change. Or rather, I don't think you're going to be the one to change Max. It's going to take quite a bit of effort. It's going to take the right motivation for them to change their behavior. I doubt it's malicious on their part. And yes, it is true that depression can do awful things to you, especially when it comes to keeping your living space tidy, but even I, who have gone through periods of extended depression, every now and again I'll look at the mess that's happened, I'm like, okay, no, I can't deal with it anymore, and I have to just get up and clean it. Sometimes it happens at random, inopportune times when it wouldn't be ideal to do it, but it still gets done because it has to get done. It's better for both mind and, ultimately, body. But it's going to take a big change in Max's life to get them to make the changes that they need to make for their own good. Because I can't imagine anyone... I mean, if a roommate doesn't want to live with him like that, a romantic partner... I'm making the assumption a romantic partner would be something they'd be interested in. A romantic partner certainly wouldn't want to put up with that. But I wish you luck, and I hope you can get through the next few months. And at least it is only a few months. 2. I moved into a new house share last August with a 28-year-old woman and 25-year-old man. I was 3 months out of an abusive relationship of 7 years and was excited to have somewhat my own space again. This new place has a massive kitchen with loads of storage for like 6 people to have their own cupboard, drawer, shelf, and a bit extra. There is no space for anyone but the 28-year-old woman and her things. I've lived in a much smaller house share and had my own space to put my things, so I was expecting that here. I spent £80 on new utensils, cookware, crockery, cutlery, etc., as I like to cook, to be told this isn't a house share, it's a home. And that all the stuff I bought is now everyone else's. Maybe I'm being a brat. But I watched her throw out her own things that were perfectly fine just so she could use all my new stuff. I'm already really weird about sharing food stuff, so this was a bit of a nightmare for me. Still haven't been reimbursed for anything, and it's all still outstanding on Splitwise. But she freaks out if I don't settle up 60 pence for loo roll or washing up liquid. I'm not settling up until they do. Simple. Neither one of them know how to wash up either. There's always food on the cutlery and plates on the draining board. I mean, what the hell? There is no room in the fridge freezer for anything other than her meal prep. There are 4 shelves in that thing. Can't count the amount of times she's thrown things of mine that I've bought the day before to make room for her things. I started fasting the first few months to deprioritize food and avoid it happening again. She works as a nanny at the moment, and said that she was eating with the family, so the fridge was practically empty for me and the 25-year-old man to put things in. As soon as she saw us using the fridge, she moved all of our things around and said, "Sorry about the fridge thing, but I'm not eating with the families anymore." Which made me think that someone had weird territorial things going on. But it's literally just the fridge, love. If we lived in a house share and not your home, with our own shelf, newsflash, there wouldn't be any of this malarkey. I was gonna get a mini fridge to put in my room, but I really shouldn't have to, and I don't have the space. Like I said, I'm weird about food. She ran out of butter the other day, used mine, and got all jam coolie in it. I don't like jam, so it's more than a bit annoying. I know I can get it out, but she's always got COVID, and claims to have long COVID, so I don't want to be sharing anything with her petri dish contaminated butt. There are 3 cupboards over the breakfast bar. One for her cereal, and the other 2 had random things in, so I started putting all my spices and pasta, etc., in there, as one of them was empty apart from a ball and some birthday candles. As soon as she clocked that I was using the one cupboard, she's now decorating that area and making it an office space because she can't write in her room. Heaven forfend. Bearing in mind, she has the biggest room in the house, and said I need to put all my things somewhere else. Like I haven't already tried to put my things in the home not a house cupboard. There really isn't any room in there for anyone else but her and some of the 25-year-old men things. There's a shelf dedicated to a load of baking stuff that is out of date. She won't throw it out, it's money wasted and might want to bake one day. None of this was even discussed with us either, she just told us what she was doing and we've just had to submit. It's just selfish. Next, my own actual room. I have the box room, which I'm fine with, but I do have a lot of things. Still, everything has its own place. I got a voice note a few months ago from her to say the landlord had been round to check the damp and mold, and text her to tell me my room is disgusting and they're gonna have to rip the carpets up, and that I need to keep in line with the rest of the house, and she isn't telling me how to live my life, but she's been in a box room before and she managed to do it, so why couldn't I? That week I was working away and had been in and out at some point and emptied my washing on the floor to find something. That was it. I asked her to screenshot what they'd said, and they didn't say any of that. I messaged the landlords to apologize for my room being a mess, even though they never even said they were coming round. And they didn't know what I was talking about, and said what I do in my room is nothing to do with them. She'll knock on my door just so I can answer, so she can see if my room's tidy. If I don't answer, she'll just open the door. She's up our butts about being tidy and clutter, but it's only so she has place to leave her things everywhere. I don't know how to address any of this with her, as she's already briefed me on not criticizing her because she can't take it. I'm also 5'8" and she's 5 feet, and I know how blunt I can be, and how that might upset her. Anyone got any advice? I feel like a coward putting it in the group and even writing it on here, as I should just be able to have this conversation with her face to face. She let on the other week that in her previous house share that all the girls hated her because she had bulimia, but my own living experience with her is indicative of something else. And she always needs the 25-year-old to assure her that she's a compassionate person and a good person. It's weird. Hellfreezer's note, stop enabling her. Because the more you do that, the more she's going to think she's getting away with it. She's on a power trip, she's vying for control of the house, and right now it seems like she's got most of it. It doesn't matter what she thinks, you are in a house share, not a home. You're not a family unit, for crying out loud. Make space for your own stuff, clear out a shelf for yourself in the fridge, make sure you've got a cupboard, do all the things you need to do to be comfortable there. And if she moves it, move it back. Let her get as angry as she wants about the situation. She is not your family. Don't give her the privileges of being a family member when it's convenient for her, because it seems like it's only when it's convenient for her. That's my advice. 3. I recently moved interstate for work and found out about the roommate via a coworker. I was in desperate need of a place to stay, and knowing that the person also lives close to work and goes to the same company made it seem like the perfect choice. Her previous roommate was moving out, so she needed someone else to fill the place. A series of issues have occurred, so I'll start listing them. Issue 1. Now, I assumed that I'd be added onto the lease when I move in, but that didn't seem like it was the case with my roommate. She wanted me to pay the previous roommate the bond withheld by landlord, and not be added to the lease until the renewal of the lease, and I said no, as I don't feel comfortable doing so. Thus, we needed to go through the official route, which took longer, but I would be added onto the lease. Issue 2. Before I moved in, she said, "We will see what my current roommate takes with her. Whatever else she leaves over, we will pay for them." Now, I hated this being imposed on me. I'd be happy to pay for necessary items such as a washer or a fridge, but asking me to pay for some yucky old couch or TV I will never use? I voiced that, and she said, "Be mindful that it is a shared space." Also, I asked her about whether there is an air conditioner in the room I'd be moving into. She said yes and proceeded to tell me to not turn it on and just get a fan instead. Like I'm paying for half the rent and it's my room, so you can't tell me what to do. I told her I am happy to pay more for the electric bills if it's my fault that the bill is higher. All these things created some tension between us before I moved in. Issue 3. Moving in. When I moved in, she would have had a lot of time in between, but she didn't clear out all her crap. The apartment was messy. She took well over 70% of the cabinets and fridge. She told me I can tell her if I need more space, and so I did, since I had a big IKEA order coming. She then proceeded to tell me to move stuff myself since she will be away on the weekend, so I had to do it for her. Smaller things like constantly keeping the balcony door and pantry door open also annoyed me. She even had an electrical appliance cord going above this stove while there were so many other places to plug it in, which I found to be unsafe. I just unplugged it and moved it elsewhere without asking her. Issue 4. Given our shared network, and we go to the same workplace, I really tried to create a friendly relationship with her, asking her if she wanted boba or saying hi, but I do not get the same manner back. I say manner because it's the most basic. Example, when we see each other in the kitchen, I'm always the first to say hi, and sometimes she'd ignore me. For a 25, 26-year-old, she has the communication skills of a toddler. We share the internet, but she was always changing the router and changed the password. She just disconnected it without giving me any notice. What if I was doing something important? Issue 5. I thought things were getting better between us. We speak to each other a little more. However, what happened this weekend is getting me on edge. My boyfriend from interstate does visit from time to time, but we try not to impact her as much as we can, spending most of our time in my bedroom. I'd always tell her in advance too, but the other day, she just told me that she will be traveling, but her boyfriend will spend the night over just by himself. While we both agreed it will be fine that we have visitors, I have never agreed to being in a shared place with a guy all by myself. She didn't even ask if I'd be comfortable. She was just informing me. Fast forward to this week, her boyfriend came over since Friday and it's now Sunday. They spend 100% of their time, apart from when they sleep, in the common area, which is the kitchen and living room. The space is also right next to my bedroom, so I can hear every little thing they do and say for the last almost 3 days, and I feel like I'm going crazy. I had to cook quickly and eat in my room for every meal since Friday, since they're camping in the kitchen and living room, so I either don't have any space to cook or sit, or just not feel comfortable doing so. Now, before anyone asks me to move out, I can't. I am in Sydney, Australia, and it is so difficult to find a place to rent, and I have already signed the contract for 12 months. Moving would be very expensive, and I have no family or friends here to help me. Am I overreacting? Is this the nature of having a roommate, or my roommate is just bad? Any genuine advice will be appreciated because I'm going insane. It's like having a fly buzzing on your ear days and days straight. It's like the apartment is hers and I'm just a guest. She has her art hanging everywhere, and the apartment reeks of her room smell. Not an odor, but it's a person smell, if that makes any sense. Hellfreezer's note. This is often a phrase used jokingly, but assert dominance. It is a shared space, as she was helpful to remind you. Make it a shared space. Take any room you need, make sure 50-50 is shared with you. Don't be shy about going out and cooking. So what if they're in the living room? You go take up space in the living room too. Don't even acknowledge them while you're doing it. You live there, you have a right to it. Spend as much time cooking meals as you can. Cook smelly things as well if you can. Make sure they know your presence is there. Might help get rid of that roommate smell too. Don't be aggressive about it, just live your life, loud and proud, unashamedly. She's doing that, so why shouldn't you do it either? As for the boyfriend staying over when she's not there, no. While she is acting like it's just her place and you're a guest, and that's definitely how it is in her mind, you're just there to help pay the bills, to facilitate her living in her place. It's not. It is a shared place. She obviously knows that. And she can have her guests over, but she can't have people staying there that aren't her. Not without your approval, and do not approve. Don't allow him to be there on his own. I have a feeling she wouldn't like it if it was the other way around. 4. I'm sorry, I just have to rant. Need an opinion. I live in Brooklyn with 2 other girls in their late 20s that I found on Facebook Marketplace. I have lived in this apartment for a couple of months now, and it's a great spot, but one of my roommates is absolutely foul. For some context, one roommate, Cookie, has a bedroom in the back of the apartment. It has its own bathroom and patio, so she never comes out unless it's to cook. The other girl, Eleanor, lives near the front of the house, and I have to share a bathroom with her. My bedroom is in the middle of their 2 rooms, and I share a wall with both of them. Our walls are paper thin, and you can have a normal conversation pretty well. We all work from home and have meetings throughout the day. The apartment is very small, so you can hear everything if someone is in the main living areas. Eleanor is really friendly, and we chat when we're in the common area, but she is one of the most thoughtless roommates I've lived with in my entire adult life, and I've lived with a lot of different people at this point. Some examples of the things she does, or doesn't do. Leaves dishes in the sink for a week, plus practices for her DJ sets without warning with the volume all the way up. Sometimes she does this during the work week, when we're all at home working and having meetings throughout the day. Never cleans her old food out of the fridge, never takes out the trash or recycling, leaves dish towels on the floor of the kitchen after she's done cooking. Leaves her wet towels on the floor of the bathroom, leaves the bathroom floor flooded with water after she takes a shower, leaves piles of hair on the toilet seat. I have zero idea why. Used my mouthwash when I was out of town and left lipstick all over the rim. We're not friends like that, so what the hell? She comes home at 4 or 5 a.m. almost every night, including weeknights, and has really loud sex, where her bed bangs against the wall. Has all of her phone conversations on speakerphone in the main living areas. Left the front door of our apartment wide open after coming home drunk late at night. I woke up in the morning to find the door ajar and found out she hadn't closed it when she came in. This happened a couple of times. Leaves piles of crumbs under the table when she eats and never sweeps or mops. Leaves her bottles of shampoo and conditioner on the ground after a shower. Never buys toilet paper for the shared bathroom or paper towels that we all share in the house. I buy both of these things 85 to 95% of the time. Never cleans out her food cabinet in the kitchen. I saw an old potato growing a tendril out of it when I opened the cabinet one time. Constantly goes out to party, has friends over and is hungover or smoking weed, like every night of the week. She goes out until 4 or 5 a.m. and then gets up at 9 or 10 a.m. for her marketing job. I honestly wouldn't mind this because it's her life, but it's clearly making it so she doesn't do her fair share around the house, and that's a problem because I end up cleaning up after her non-stop. The other roommate, Cookie, rarely comes out of her room, and when she does, she cleans up immediately in the kitchen, and she does a deep clean of the apartment multiple times a month. Plus, she's pretty quiet, so there's no issue there. When I first moved into the apartment, I asked that we have a sit-down and talk about her expectations with cleaning, noise, etc., so we could all be on the same page. At that time, everyone was like, yes, we'll all be quiet after 11 p.m., midnight on weekdays. We're all aware that we work from home, we'll all be clean, etc., etc. But Eleanor clearly hasn't done any of that. I have been pretty direct with her and had countless conversations face to face. I ask her things like, hey, can we make sure the dishes get done within 24 hours? Or, when people are coming over on the weekdays at 4 a.m., it negatively affects my sleep. Can we talk about that? And she's responsive in the moment, but then goes back to doing the thing within the next week. At this point, it feels like a lost cause. I probably need to move out, but don't have the money or any time right now. These all seem like pretty annoying qualities for a roommate to have, right? I'm not overblowing it. Hellfreezer's note. Have you discussed her behavior with your other, neater, more quiet roommate to see what they think of the situation? If it is a situation where you're both not happy, then it might be viable to suggest that the messy roommate be happier somewhere else. I'm not saying force her out, just heavily suggest that it might be a good idea if she looks for somewhere else, and then you can get someone more suitable to yours and your other roommate's sensibilities living there, i.e. someone who cleans up after themselves. And also, the only other thing I could suggest here is stop asking questions when you need her to do things. Can we make sure the dishes are done? Can we talk about that? How about, do your dishes. Get them done. Don't have people over on weekdays at 4 a.m. You're affecting my sleep. We already agreed that wouldn't happen. No, I'm not asking. Obviously as gently as you can possibly phrase things like that when you're having to be firm with someone who's acting like a child. Good luck. 5. Genuinely at a loss here. Both me and my landlord have been really messed over by this. For context, I have 3 flatmates. We are in a student let and our bills are included with the rent. One of my flatmates seems to think that included bills means absolute free reign of usage of the heating. I get that people get cold, don't get me wrong, but the usage is shocking. Me and our other flatmate haven't even turned the heating on for months now, but this one in particular, with the exception of the past week, has been having the heating on all night, every night, sometimes all day, and it had been like that for months. I did try to turn the heating off when I could, but obviously sometimes I am asleep or not in. I have to admit, on my part, I probably should have said something. I was hoping that as it got warmer, they would eventually stop turning the heating on. I didn't really want to approach her about it because she really does not take confrontation of any kind well, no matter how gently it's approached. A couple of months ago, this flatmate decided she was going to move out come the end of the tenancy in September. I'll be staying here. For the 9 months we have been living here, I have been the one doing almost all the housekeeping, communication with landlord, meter readings, letting plumbers in, etc. Halfway through the tenancy, our old landlord sold the flat and a new landlord took over. This new landlord is more involved, as the previous had everything set up through a letting agent. A few days ago, our new landlord requested a meter reading, so they can set up the included bills in time for September. I won't pretend to know the specifics of how this works. The gas meter, specifically, was shocking, over 3 times the amount it was in December. This is of early May. Obviously, our landlord was annoyed. I explained to her that it was a specific flatmate who had been keeping the heating on, and that I have now told my flatmate to no longer use it. The landlord was sympathetic with me and understood that this flatmate in particular is difficult. They also had issues with them in the past. I ended up confronting my flatmate about her usage of the heating. Her response was essentially just, "Well, I've been so cold that I couldn't sleep. I don't have the heating on that much anyway, but sure, I won't put it on anymore, as it's hot now anyway." It wasn't worth arguing about. If she's agreeing to not use it anymore, then it wouldn't be worth any more arguing. However, my landlord has since emailed me, saying that they can't get a fixed-rate deal from any providers due to our gas usage. They informed me that the amount my flatmate has been using was equivalent of that of a 5-bedroom detached house. We live in a 3-bedroom flat. But in short, I might have to pay bills separately now in September due to this. My flatmate doesn't care as she's moving out. I'm just so mad. She does not care whatsoever that her careless usage has messed me, the landlord, and our other flatmate over. I guess maybe it's not too bad, as I could possibly save a little money next year if the bills aren't included. Just a pain to deal with. There's not really anything that can be done at this point, but just wanted to rant as the whole situation is so frustrating. If I had enough money to, I would be living on my own. Dealing with other people like this is exhausting. Hellfreezer's note, just speculation. I wonder if your landlord might be able to sue her for the additional money. At least to offset some of the costs. Included bills is a reasonable expectation. The usage they're including in that is what the average person might use, accounting for a little over, a little under, depending on the month. Higher heating in winter, lower heating in summer. Obviously, this roommate has vehemently abused it. They apparently don't know that if you just turn the heating on for a little bit, heat up the room, close your door, the heating will stay in. And they also seemingly don't know how duvets and hot water bottles work. But I think it might be worth your landlord looking into taking them to court and trying to get that money back. They might have a case. Might be worth consulting with a lawyer. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Bad Roommates, episode 16. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. If you'd be so kind as to hit the like button, I'd appreciate it. And if you'd like to get early access to these videos, support me on my Patreon page, easily linked in the description for your convenience, for as little as $1 or more a month. You get all the videos on a Monday all at once. You'll also find a link in the description to the Hellfreezer Discord if you'd like to join us there, as well as the Hellfreezer merchandise store on Teespring. And if you'd like to, you can also leave a tip if you enjoyed this video by clicking on the heart with a $sign underneath the very video player itself. That is not required, although very much appreciated. Right, no other bits and bobs today, so let's move right along to Hellfreezer's question of the day. And today's question is... And this one is supplied by Newcomb via the Discord, and that is... Which decade had the best TV shows? I'd argue that it was actually the 1990s, because it had Star Trek Next Generation, technically started in the 80s, but it was still airing then. It had Deep Space Nine, had Voyager, which not the best of Trek shows, but it's still good. Also had Babylon 5, Quantum Leap, Slide. I mean, most of my Frasier, most of my favorite TV shows came from the 90s. Not to say there isn't a lot of stuff I've enjoyed since the 1990s, but a lot of the ones that I find comforting I go back to, they all came from that decade. Why don't you let me know what some of your answers are in a comment below. And before we go, let's have the answer of the day from a previous video. And this was in relation to things you enjoy that are really a lot of effort when you'd probably benefit from them most. And this one comes from Grey Warden Invasion. Food in general is just way too much effort to cook for myself. I actually have been eating mostly salads and soups and whatever can be done quickly over a month now, because I just couldn't bring up the energy to cook anymore. At least salads and soups are still reasonably healthy. Trashy food wouldn't help with my mental health either. Thank you very much for your answer, Grey Warden, and I do agree. I'm kind of on sandwiches and soups this week just because it's quick. I've got a lot to do, but it just is quick. I'd like to have nice big cooked meals, but really not in the mood to do them at the moment. And with that, I'm going to head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourself.